Hello everyone, Fancy here, you're watching Fantavision, and today I am discussing the PlayStation 5 reveal. Now, I understand that this has had a lot of divisive opinions on just the presentation itself, not really the specifications of the system, but how the system was revealed to all of us, because we got to talk about that first. Before we get into the specs, I mean, if you want to look up the specs right away and you don't care about any of the actual presentation itself and what people are talking about, this video is probably not for you, or you can just skip to near the end. But I do want to talk about kind of how everybody's reacting to this whole situation and the way that Sony handled the reveal of the PlayStation 5. So what do I mean? What did Sony do that has divided the internet so much? Because it had a large viewing. Lots of people watched this thing. Lots of people were incredibly excited because PlayStation's been pretty much silent about everything that was going to be in the new console. They haven't given a price. They didn't tell specs until now. They didn't do anything. It was a complete mystery. We still don't know what the damn thing looks like. And that's another problem I have with the whole presentation, is that they didn't give us nearly enough info. They gave us way too much info on the technical side of things, but they didn't give us nearly enough info as to stuff that we really want to know right away. Like, what does it look like? I want to know, I mean, Microsoft showed off the Xbox Series X forever ago. We know what it looks like. Are there going to be multiple versions of this? Microsoft has almost confirmed that. PlayStation seems to be kind of wishy-washy about it. It's really interesting that they go into all the different tech stuff, and I do think that should be in there. Don't get me wrong. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that, yes, this is a GDC talk. It's straight up GDC talk. This is not E3. This is not a flashy presentation showing off lots of games. But I think it should have been geared that way more. I feel like they should have had a shorter, flashier presentation that showed off some of the power of the new system in an actual visual way instead of a bunch of charts and graphs and talking about the technology itself. That is fine. Keep the entire thing that he did, but move it after the more exciting, flashy thing. Because we were just starved for information for this thing. We are hyped as hell to learn about the PlayStation 5. And then they started off with this slow talking presenter, and he just keeps going on about solid state drives and how they work. Solid state drives are not new technology. I get they're having a custom one, they're making it even faster. The big thing about this system is the data transfer speeds that are supposedly going to bring loading times down to absolutely nothing, which I could have sworn I'd heard in the past that like the PS3 or Xbox 360 was going to be like that, and they just definitely did not have that. They had really long loading times. So whether or not that actually happens in games, we'll find out. But we still didn't get a price. We still have not seen any games running on this thing. I'm really glad that we have some of the specifications, but we still have a lot of things that aren't answered. And we have one thing that was answered, but to all of our dismay, because the PlayStation 5 is going to be backwards compatible, but so far at launch, it's only going to be compatible with some of the top 100 games. They have not set a number. They have not said how long it's going to take to get all PlayStation 4 games to work, or if that's even possible. It's really strange that the thing that Xbox Series X is just doing unquestionably, just Xbox One games will work. No questions asked. It's just going to work. PlayStation 5 is like, well, we're trying. That's not good enough. That's just not good enough. We need backwards compatibility in this day and age. I'm tired of consoles not doing it. And Xbox has been doing that. It's great. Now, a lot of people are continually bringing up, oh, well, they can even play Xbox Original. I think the PlayStation 5 should play PS3, PS2, PS1. I agree with PS2 and PS1. There's no reason for the PlayStation 5 to not be able to emulate those games. It worked on the PlayStation 4. It should work on the PlayStation 5. It should be able to read these discs. I don't know why it isn't. However, PlayStation 3 was made by a bunch of idiots that did not listen to any game developers at all. They said, please do not make this kind of system. Do not use the cell architecture. It's very difficult to develop with. And that's why a lot of different games in the PlayStation 3 run worse than the Xbox 360. which makes me sad because once I got a PS3, I just want to keep buying games for that because I liked the interface of the system, I liked the controller, I liked a lot of different things about the PlayStation 3, and it just felt like a cleaner experience. But I couldn't do that because games like Medal of Honor Airborne ran like crap because of the cell architecture. And because of that cell architecture, we're never going to have backwards compatibility to the PS3. It's even difficult to emulate the PlayStation 3 on your computer right now. You can emulate the Wii U and the Switch right now, but you cannot emulate the PS3 because of its architecture. That's insane to me. What have you done? I don't get it. Also, talking about backwards compatibility, I know I mentioned the Xbox briefly. I feel like Xbox is getting a little bit too much credit because not all Xbox original games work for the Xbox One, and that is something I'm worried about with the PlayStation 5. Because all the games are not working day one on the PlayStation 5, we just have to hope that over time they are going to allow most, if not all, PlayStation 4 games to work, because they just stopped doing it randomly. They just stopped bringing over Xbox original games to be backwards compatible with the Xbox One. They just cut off the list. They said, we're done doing it. That's it. Finito. If they do that with PlayStation 4 games, the PlayStation 5, which I definitely see them doing, you're SOL. You're going to be SOL on a lot of games that you might otherwise want to play on the system, but you just can't. And then you'll have to have a PlayStation 4. The whole point of these systems, the nice thing about the Xbox Series X is you can just take your Xbox One and throw it in the dumpster because you do not need it anymore. That is what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to take the place of the next generation console while allowing you to play the past games. There's no reason that a disc-based system should ever be locked out of the previous gen games. It just doesn't make sense to me. It really does not. Nintendo does weird things. It makes sense why the Switch that cannot play discs cannot play Wii U games. It cannot play Wii games. But the Wii U could play Wii games, and I believe it could play GameCube games? No, it couldn't play GameCube games. I think it could only play Wii games, but the Wii could play GameCube games. I don't know why the Wii U couldn't play GameCube games. Am I wrong here? I don't know. But if you do want to know the specifications of the PlayStation 5, I'm going to give you kind of a general overview. I'm not going to dive into the nitty-gritty of all the technical stuff. If you want that, you can go to thousands of other websites and they'll tell you the nitty-gritty details of what exact processor and what exact graphics cards. But let me just give you a quick rundown and save you either the 15-minute thing or the Google search if this is all you want to know. So it has a 4K Blu-ray drive. Now, a lot of people were worried that it wouldn't. I said that it wouldn't make sense for it to not have one, but then again, it doesn't make sense for me to not have it in the PlayStation 4 Pro. Why is it not in the PlayStation 4 Pro? Why is there no 4K Blu-ray disc drive reader in that? It doesn't make any sense to me. And I'm glad it's in this. I knew it was going to be standard, but that's great. 16 gigabytes of RAM, just like the Xbox One. A slightly less powerful processor at 3.5 gigahertz as opposed to Xbox's 3.8. Not a huge difference there, but we really haven't seen games running yet. We haven't seen a difference. So it'll be interesting to see two games running side by side when these systems first come out. However, when these systems first come out, a lot of these games are not going to be completely optimized for these systems. We're seeing graphics on the PlayStation 4 coming from God of War that we just can't believe is possible. And those games definitely did not look that good when the PlayStation 4 first came out. It also has 8K 120 Hz support, just like the Xbox. But this is weird. Now, they talked about the SSD a lot because it is a custom solid-state drive, because they wanted the transfer speeds to be insane to have no loading times. That's great. But it's only 828 gigabytes. 828 gigabytes, that's nothing. We are in an age where games are 100 gigabytes or more. Call of Duty Modern Warfare, I think, is like 110. Battlefront 2 is 110. Red Dead Redemption 2 is probably 100 and something as well. These games are huge, so you can, install 8 games on this thing? That is the issue with these hard drives being so small at launch. I'm sure the PlayStation 5 is going to come out. It's going to have that 828 gigabyte hard drive when it first comes out. And then a year or two later, there's going to be like a 2 terabyte or something like that. Now, there is a solution to this. You do have an expansion bay for NVMe SSDs, but I shouldn't have to pay even more for it to have a decent amount of storage space, because that is nothing. That is absolutely nothing. And you could say the same thing about the Switch. The Switch had very little internal storage, but an SD card and an NVMe hard drive, the cost comparison is so different, and the games on the Switch are so much smaller. So you don't have to worry about it as much. You definitely do have to buy an SD card, but I spent like $40 on some like 500 gigabyte thing. And yeah, that doesn't sound like a whole lot when it comes to, again, the PlayStation 5, because the games are going to be 100 gigabytes, but on the Switch, that's going to hold a ton of games. So the file sizes are just massive, and it seems like the next generation is not really preparing for that. I don't remember what Xbox's was. I think it was like a terabyte or two, but even that's not enough. I feel like they need to be much, much bigger, especially if they want to start selling digital more. I mean, Xbox has Game Pass. PlayStation has PlayStation Now. Both of these services require you to have a lot of storage space, because if you want digital games, it's going to be even bigger than a disc-based game, because some of these games do keep a lot of that data on the disc. You don't install all of the disc most of the time. There are some exceptions to that, but with not having anything stored on the disc and everything on the hard drive, it's going to be very few games in your hard drive. You're going to have very little space, especially after your operating system and all of the other updates that come along to your system. They're going to drain even more storage. Overall, the PlayStation reveal to me was incredibly interesting. I really did enjoy listening about all the different technology that was involved. I just wanted to see it represented more. It's like when you're watching a movie, show, don't tell. Don't just tell me about all these awesome things. And the thing is I'm not asking for a whole lot, because I have seen handheld footage of other press conferences they've done about the PlayStation 5 talking about the load screens, and they showed a visual representation of Spider-Man loading on a PlayStation 4 and loading on a PlayStation 5. And that was probably even slower than it's going to be when the system comes out. I think it's going to be even faster than what they showed at that show. It's going to be really interesting when we actually get to see what this console is able to do. But I just wish they would have shown us already. It's coming out this year. I get it's coming out at the end of the year, but at least give us a price, or like just show us what the damn thing looks like. Is that really asking for too much to see what the console looks like? I get the design of the console is not really going to matter to most people, but it's just something that we're all curious about, and doesn't make sense why they haven't shown. Are they really waiting to make the shell that far down the road? I don't know. It seems like people already have their hands on Xbox Series X's, and some of them even have it as their home console now, replacing their Xbox One. It's strange just how close they're keeping their cards to their chest. They're kind of pulling a Nintendo here, not revealing too much information till the very last moment. And I think that's why there's so many dislikes on that video. People wanted a flashier and even more informative video. And by more informative, I mean they wanted prices. They wanted to see the system. And we definitely didn't want to hear that it's not going to be backwards compatible day one. That's crazy. So thanks for watching, everyone. Leave a like if you guys enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more content. And as always, have a fantastic day. See you guys. What was up with the... Okay, I don't know if it was a fake crowd or if it was a real crowd, because I saw somebody moving a little bit. A lot of other people were just kind of frozen, but some guy was moving his head just like a little bit. And I was like, why is there a crowd there? You don't need the shadow of a crowd to know that there are people watching. I don't need that. Just show the presenter and everything else. It was just a distraction having all these weird disembodied silhouettes just chilling there. It's like a bunch of ghosts are staring at freaking Dana Carvey as he does his speech. I don't know. What a weird choice for a lot of these different things. Again, I get this is for GDC. I've watched lots of GDC talks. This is right in line with a lot of other things that other companies have done. But they needed to adapt to the current situation of things. They needed to know that, hey, people are starved for this information. Maybe you should show off some PlayStation 5 games. And there are other people online that have talked about how at past GDCs, they have shown how the technology works, and they showed off some gameplay. Said they showed like a couple still images of Dead Space. That's not even going to be playable on the PlayStation 5. What are you guys doing? Why are you showing Dead Space? I get you're trying to talk about the 3D sound, but I cannot experience that 3D sound of that specific game on the PlayStation 5. Why not use a PlayStation 5 title as an example? That'd be a great time to reveal a new game, too. Do you know how excited people would be? There wouldn't be 89 or 90,000 dislikes. Everybody'd be freaking out. They'd be like, oh my god, they showed off a new game. They showed off how the system's going to work. They talked about the 3D sound. It'd make the presentation a lot more memorable if they made it exciting. Wow, you know? Making something exciting, that's a novel concept. Think about that next time. Because I get some people are okay with this presentation, but I definitely feel like it could have been improved because it's not for just the GDC audience. It's for a much wider audience.